Good morning and happy Friday to everyone in the Co-work Collective. Hope you guys are doing well and hope you had a good week. And to the South Africans in the Co-work Collective, happy Heritage Day for yesterday. Hope you had a good break. Super excited to be joined this morning by Janusz. Janusz, I'm saying that right, eh?
Yes, perfect. Yeah, thank you.
Nice to have you on, man. Thank you so much for joining us. We've actually been connected for about over 6 months. We were just saying pre-COVID we were talking. And I'm glad that we could finally, actually make it happen and get you onto our double shot. Guy, just a bit of background. Janusz is based in the UK, in case his accent doesn't give it away when he does talk. But he's a digital agency coach, which is really, really cool because, our double shots have comprised mostly, we've had one or two support systems for digital agencies, but mostly have been digital agency owners themselves who specialize in a niche or just felt like they had something to share about influencer marketing or video marketing or social media or whatever it was. But with you, Janusz, you are actually a specialist in supporting digital agencies directly, which is what we kind of do as well at Globotel. So I'm really stoked to have you on because I think you've got a different perspective to the other guests that we've had on. You're actually outside of an agency looking inwards and saying, hey guys, I can help you run a better digital agency, which is really cool. So thanks for coming through, man. And I understand today we're talking about, as the title of the live suggests, we're talking about all agencies say the same thing and what advice can you give agencies to basically stand out a little bit?
That's right. Yeah, it might be a bit of a controversial topic. It's a bit of a reflection, I think, perhaps for some of the agencies. Yeah. The topic for today comes from, so I'm an ex-agency owner, exited my agency, now work exclusively with digital agencies and run agency growth programs on behalf of Google across Europe. In fact, South Africa too. Yeah. Google Elevator program. I've coached a few agencies down in South Africa. And one of the themes that's emerged from these programs is we always ask the agencies, if I'm a client, why should I buy from you and not from anybody else? So if you're pitching to me and I'm seeing 4 or 5 other agencies, come on, Mr. Agency Owner, what makes you so great? Why should I buy from you? And we do this as part of an onboarding process with the agencies that come onto the programs. And after about 10 agencies or so asking them this question, I already started to see some themes. So we started recording the answers that we got back. 250 agencies have told me the same thing. Wow. 2 out of that cohort, out of the 250, have told me something different. All right. The problem is, if I'm Mr. Client and you're pitching to me and I've seen 4 other agencies and you tell me the same thing as everybody else, we have perfect market conditions, right? It's a buyer's market. I buy on price, or if the price is the same, I buy on chemistry, and that's it. It's a beauty contest. That's why we see agencies win rates somewhere between 15 to 30% of sales qualified leads on average, because everybody's telling me the same thing. I buy on price, I buy on chemistry, who I like. It's my market. Nobody at all is standing out. So we collated these answers. Perfect market conditions. It squeezes prices down for agencies. Agencies have a glass ceiling on what they can charge because there's so many competitors out there saying the same thing.
Yeah. So that's an interesting one, and I think that the message you're putting out there is, man, we're in a competitive industry. We are and that's ironically what we've experienced globally ourselves. The minute COVID hit, we saw a ton of people setting up their own digital agencies. There's no barrier to entry. So it's really, really tough to be a digital agency owner, isn't it?
Absolutely. I use that term, perfect market conditions. Economics has this term. You have a perfect market, or you have monopolies. A perfect market is where there's a lot of competition. So there's a lot of agencies effectively doing very similar things, and the price of what agencies can charge are dictated by the market. The other type of market is you have a monopoly, and in a monopoly-based market, you have 1, 2 competitors, and they can pretty much charge what they like. Yeah, and that's where growth comes from. So that's kind of almost what we want to be looking towards. And as an agency owner, you're absolutely right. You can be pitching your project, be it PPC, SEO, programmatic, paid social, web design, build, strategy, all that kind of stuff. But you're always competing against John and Dave sat in their basement, willing to do it, willing to do the work for 30 or 40% less than you are as an agency owner. So your positioning and proposition is absolutely key. Unless, you were the guys that were around 10 or 15 years ago.
Yeah.
When you had the ability to, to be the monopoly, to build the brand, to build the team, to get the creds, to generate that kind of referral market for yourself, right? But now it's a buyer's market. So I have one slide to show you. I'm not going to bore you with slides today. Yeah. And my question to your viewers, right? I'm a client, right? You're pitching to me, and I'm asking you, why should I buy from you and not for the other agencies? And just take 10 or 15 seconds to write down what you think your key points of differentiation are, why I should buy from you. Okay. And if anybody has something that isn't on this list, please, do email me and do get in touch, because I think you're on.
It's research in a way for you, I suppose.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
You're learning as you go.
Absolutely.
As well. Yeah,
absolutely. So I'm going to share my screen. Let's see if the tech works. See if I can show you what I have.
We've banished the demons of stream. We just use Zoom now.
I can't share my screen. It says it's disabled for me.
Let me give you access. Hold on. It's probably because I have to give you access. Come on. Here we go. More make host. There you go. You should be able to try now.
There we go. Right. So why should I buy from you and not from anybody else, not from the other agencies? And typically, and this is, almost exclusively 250 times out of 250 times, I get something that's on this list. Wow. That we're the trusted advisor, that we're about partnerships, not projects. We're here for the long term. That we are, that we're strategic. Right? We're absolutely strategic. We work to understand your marketing objectives, your business goals. We're not just about delivering clicks. We're really working with you as that long-term partner. That you're going to speak to the expert. We're not going to put these account managers that are going to get in the way. You're speaking to the person who's doing the thing. That we're full service or we're not full service. It's 50-50, which one of those is perceived to be the best. Yeah. But, that's seen as a differentiator. That we've won all the awards, we're the top X%, we're passionate, we absolutely love what we do, we employ the best people, all this kind of stuff. So I'm not saying that this stuff is the wrong stuff to be saying. You absolutely have to say that, we're not just delivering clicks, that we're strategic and all that kind of thing. The problem is you're not standing out. You're no difference. If you're the fifth person, the fifth agency that's pitching to me, I've heard this 4 times over. And if you're spending an hour pitching this stuff to me, I've switched off within 10 minutes because I've just heard it said to me 4 times. Okay. So you have to say this stuff. Yeah. I would almost recommend that you have a slide with this on it and a handout and an appendix that says, look, I know that you've seen 4 other agencies and they've told you all this stuff and you've heard it 4 times over, but I'm not going to spend an hour talking about it. Here's our takeaway. Here's our video of me explaining this to you. Here's our appendix. Now let's talk to you and your business and why we're right for you and your business and your industry specifically.
Got you.
So you need to say it absolutely, but it doesn't make you any different to the rest. Okay, it doesn't make you stand out. Don't spend an hour talking about it. It doesn't differentiate you. Yeah.
It's not a USP. It's not something that's going to hook that client. And I think that idea about having an appendix to say, hey, listen, I'm not going to tell you all the usual bullshit that everybody else tells you. Here's an appendix with all the usual bullshit that everyone else tells you. You can look at it in your own time. What I am going to tell you. And I suppose that's the question. I think, obviously we had a brief chat before we went on, and I said, we had this fantastic webinar yesterday, which was quite a long one. It's an hour-long webinar. It was really well received. And it, obviously, as I say, you're a digital agency coach, so you come with a different perspective. I think, no doubt, we as I mentioned, I'll twist a rubber arm at some stage, and we'll definitely, hopefully, do a longer version of this, because no doubt the other side of this is these are all the common pitfalls and all the things that everybody says. No doubt you've got a bunch of advice and tips that you can give to agencies in a longer webinar or whatever, that they're probably sitting there going, hey, okay, cool, I get it. I do say that I'm guilty. But what would your advice be as a digital agent coach? How can I get around it? No doubt you've got a bunch of that stuff as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Differentiation, right? Points of differentiation. And I think the challenges with agencies is that they see this stuff as being differentiating, right?
Yeah.
Is that we sit inside our agency bubble, and we have this perception, this world view of what all the other agencies say, because we take on clients, right? We take on clients that are frustrated. They come to us because they're frustrated with another agency, and then that creates this world view that says, do you know what? All other agencies, they don't set the campaigns up properly. They just deliver clicks. The communication's poor. All this kind of stuff. I've never met an agency who's actually like that, whoever admits to doing that, right? But all agencies have a perception that all other agencies behave in this way. So then we're drawn to talking about all of this kind of stuff. What do you do about it? Differentiation. Seth Godin, has created this model that become the purple cow. When I look into a field of cows, you want to be the purple one, the one that stands out.
Gotcha.
And most of the differentiators, we're living in this world of a perfect market. Most of the differentiators have been taken. It's really difficult actually to find something that makes you stand out. All right. So the thing to do is to combine differentiators so that when combined, you exist in a market of one, that you have the monopoly. All right. So there's a ton of different ways you can be differentiated. The verticals in the markets that you serve, the geography, the location of the people that you work with, some intellectual property that you have within the agency, a thought leader. Perhaps you have somebody who's synonymous with analytics and data, or is an ex-Googler or something like that. Okay. The types of clients, the types of roles that you work with, right? Or a niche within a niche. Perhaps you're focused on retail, but specifically electronics.
Yeah.
Right? So you combine them, and if you can combine 3 to 4 differentiators, you've taken the competition from hundreds of other agencies. Yes, if you're an agency that specializes in PPC and you're a Google Premier partner, right? That's not a differentiator. There's still hundreds of agencies. But if you're PPC, Google Premier partner, retail specific, you're now down to tens, right? You've gone from hundreds of competitors down to tens of agencies who do the same thing. You add a 4th differentiator in, let's say it's electronics, or perhaps it's by platform, it's Shopify, Magento. You're now down to 10, say, right? So you combine these differentiators and absolutely, your proposition, your positioning, your messaging, your marketing has to live, breathe this combination of differentiators. Where, when you look out into the market's still big enough to support that company. You can't be the guys who do retail, electronics in the South Pole, right? There's nobody there who's going to buy your stuff. So it's combining those differentiators so that when you look out into the market, there's less than 5 agencies who are saying and doing the same thing as you. Yeah, and at that point, you found your monopoly. That's the thing to do.
It's if you don't mind me saying, it's an insanely analytical way of looking at business, but it makes total sense. And I suppose that's what you do as a coach, is you help a digital agency who's stuck in the day-to-day of running an agency and campaigns and lead generation complaints and all that. You help them see the wood for the trees, which is kind of what I think you've just done here. Look, and it's quite interesting as well that you bring up, we're starting to see, as I say, we do a bunch of these, and we're starting to notice, well, not starting, for years we've been working in supporting digital agencies. We know and we notice that there are just so many of the most common challenges that the minute you bring it up, everybody gathers around and goes, yeah, I'm dealing with that. Things like pricing. You mentioned niche. Niche is a huge one. It came up yesterday when we did our webinar about, we were talking about farming, not hunting, actually looking inwards and actually making the most of the clients that you've got on your doorstep. And the questions about niche came up 2 or 3 times, which didn't really fit in with what we were talking about, but it goes to show you how frustrating and how lost a lot of digital agency owners are when it comes to actually understanding how to find that niche. And I think you've talked about those differentiators and combining them into something that makes sense for you, into something that's within your wheelhouse. That can really, really benefit digital agency owners. Yeah,
totally. I have an anecdote for you about how powerful this thing can be. You mentioned niching again, as a method or a way to be differentiated. So when I ran my agency, so I'm an ex-agency man, we were a CMS-based agency. So Umbraco and Sitecore, web development, strategy, UX, that kind of stuff. And we started partnering with another agency who were specialists in the third sector, so charities, NGOs, membership organizations. We became the development partner for that agency, right? Prior to us partnering with them, our win rate was the beauty contest type stats, 13 to 30%, you know. Started partnering with this agency. We pitched 23 times with them. We won 23 pitches. And at the time I was like, wow, I've really got my sales pitch sorted now. Like I've gone from 13% up to 100%. I must have really figured out what I'm saying. And it wasn't me, you know, it was the agency we're pitching with. And what happened, what he did, a guy called Nick Torday, he was an ex-charity man. So he was a marketing manager for big global charities, now agency owner. We used to pitch. We used to turn up to the pitch 15 to 20 minutes early, right? And have a coffee with the people that we were pitching to. And we'd won the pitch before we went into the boardroom, right? Because, and he didn't pitch to them in that space. All he did was asked really, really, really smart questions, which only a person with an in-depth knowledge of the charity space would know was an issue. Yeah, sat there over a coffee. Hey, Mr. Marketing Manager from huge charity. November's coming up. Yeah, are you going to be hitting? You know, aiming to hit the UK national average for donations of increase of 16.47%. You know, which it has been for the past 3 years. You know, what's the impact of these micro charities? Is it still impacting your donation revenue by 4.92%? Right. So when we got into the pitch room, he'd already illustrated that he had that deep level of domain knowledge into their clients' problems. So when he then pitched the agency stuff, here, look, here's where we can take you. Here's our technology partner, Jausz, here's a CMS guy. The value that he could bring to them, you know, with the digital strategy, with the website, with the development, you know, far exceeded what everybody else was saying. Everybody else was saying, hey, we can do digital marketing. He was saying, of course we can do digital marketing. But look what we know about the charity space. Now, that client is not only more likely to buy from him, but they're more likely to pay more for that service. Yeah, more likely to buy, more likely to pay more for it. It's got some really, really cool stats I can show you on our next chat, hopefully, about the difference that win rate can make, and actually how much less leads you need to generate as an agency because you're winning more of them. Yeah. So your own marketing becomes more effective because hey, we're just talking to these guys. We don't need to advertise on these channels. These guys hang out in these places. Yeah. So you get far more sales qualified leads. You win far more of them, and you can charge far more for that service because you have that deeper level of understanding.
Comes back to that thought leadership idea, and makes sense when you hear of these agencies who guys who were in banking, they were in banking for years, come out, start their own digital agency, and they focus on the banking sector because it's a logical place for them. Janusz, listen, I think we've just gone over a little bit. As I said, we try to keep these 10 to 15 minutes, but without a doubt, I want to do this again and maybe potentially longer. I think you've got a ton to share. In fact, you've gone over so many different elements. Before we started, you spoke about time management and actually freeing ourselves up in our digital agencies and saying, you know, which I think is something that all digital agency owners tend to suck at, let's be frank. So I think, you know, you and I can have a convo out the room and decide on what the best value you can bring. Because I think you clearly tuned into the frustrations of digital agency owners, and that's what we're trying to do in the Co-work Collective is really solve those frustrations and provide some value. So, yeah, man, thank you so much for joining. You know, there's been a lot said, so I really appreciate you taking the time, and we'll chat again soon, I hope.
My pleasure. Yeah, I would love to be back. Thank you so much for having me this morning.
Beautiful, man. Thank you so much. Have a good one, eh?
Take care. Bye-bye.